Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, WW7ATS. Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll find the frequencies that we transmit on, a little bit of background on our organization, and also you'll find a link on our homepage that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the CTAC Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for Cougar Mountain. So with that out of the way, I'll pause in case anybody has an emergency traffic or needs to make somebody a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. Hearing none, again, good evening to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. So far checked into the net via video link is Ron, KD7QKU. Richard, K7ITX. Bob, K9PQ. Jim, N7QO. James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7ZYM. Is there anybody else that would like to sign in to the net tonight? Hearing none, we'll get the ball rolling and start in Tacoma with Ron, KD7QKU.
Thank you, Dave. Hello to the group, KD7QKU. Well, Mika, maybe I can get her going. Roof, 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 roof. No reaction. Okay. So, Joanne's nieces. Roof, 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 roof. Joanne's nieces have a golden retriever, and he's about a year old, and they have trained him, and I don't think it's very good, but whenever there's a dog on TV, they say dog, dog, and he runs over to the TV set and looks at the dog and starts barking. And I think that's a bad habit, because there's quite a few dogs, believe it or not. It seems like he's always over there looking at something barking. So anyway, well, I had a really nice day today. First thing this morning, Wade sent me a text and asked me if I wanted to go to the Tacoma Ham Club today, and I said yes. And so he said, okay, I'll come over and get you in about 10 minutes, and he showed up, and we got down there, and, you know, I kind of get cooped up, and then I like to talk, and so I talked poor Wade to death, I think, on the way down there, and then I got down there and met a couple of other old guys, and I didn't really know them, but we got started in quite a conversation. We talked about everything under the sun, and so that was a good time. We had a lot in common. And Wade had been upstairs to where the ham stations are, and then he came down and he sat beside me. And I think he was ready to go home, so I said, I can go anytime you are. So he said, okay. It was about noon then, so we headed out, came home. So anyway, yeah, like I say, it was a really good morning. So back to net, KD7QKU.
7QKU, thanks for that. Let's go to Bottle Bob, K9PQ.
Hey
guys. Well, yeah, pretty nice day here as well. Got out a little bit. It was a pretty nice day today. Not completely blue sky sunshine here, but it was dry and bright. I met some friends for lunch, and one of them brought me Christmas cookies that she had baked, and man, she really goes to town when she does Christmas cookies. She made fudge. She made about 4 or 5 different kinds of cookies with peppermint and with chocolate, and she also made truffles, homemade truffles, which I don't believe I've ever had before. So it's sort of like a softer inside with a hard shell outside. I don't know how you would even make it at home, but she did, and they were very good. So that was a nice treat today. And just had some nice conversation with family. We've got Christmas things going on in the family, so it kind of brings up memories. One of them was I mentioned the Christmas boat parade that I went on that we talked about last night, I believe, and just a nice time being out there on Lake Union on my uncle's boat with for the Christmas parade, and also brought up the memory of opening day, which is another sort of a boat parade that they go from Lake Union out through the ship canal into Lake Washington, and I was on that one year as well on my uncle's boat. So some good old memories to bring up. And with that, I'll send it back. K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX in Kent.
Okay, Bob, so your Christmas cookies and all that stuff made me think of when my dad, the original K7ITX, he loved divinity, and I really, as a kid, I never really knew what it was, but he thought he knew how to make it. Me laughing. Do not get me laughing, please. It just makes me cough. So anyway, like I said, he thought he knew how to make it, and so he'd get going on this big recipe, lots of sugar. He makes some kind of syrupy thing, and vanilla, I don't know. But he never could really make it. It always turned into some kind of, this hard, clearish, golden, some kind of a translucent golden hard candy. And if you know what divinity is, it's nothing like what he ever came up with. And he knew it. He was always very frustrated. So I just thought I'd mention that. It just brought back an old memory. And just a minute, please. Okay, so just kind of going back to towards the end of the last net, Covington Jim had mentioned Warren Brown and the YouTube Ontario channel, and how there was a small plane crash in Tennessee that he mentioned, and I had only seen just a brief headline about it, and so, but when he brought it up and the fact that Warren Brown had a report on it, I thought I would check it out today. And oh my, one thing I like about Warren Brown is he gets so detailed in his description of why and how and maybe. It's always maybe, when there's a plane crash, there's no absolute final reasons, but there are a lot of suspicious things that come up. Very thorough in his research, and so what he did is this Tennessee fly girl was, I guess $400. I don't know if that's a lot of time or not, but not really. Okay, thanks, James. And but she had a YouTube channel on how her march towards becoming a qualified pilot and getting her license and stuff. She had, various stages of her learning with instructors and things. And even at one point, she even fired an instructor for whatever reason. But the thing that I learned quite a bit, and what she failed to understand, is how important, if you're going to have an autopilot, you got to know what you're doing thoroughly with respect to the autopilot. There's no guessing. There's no thinking that it's right or wrong. You got to know exactly. And even 4 weeks prior to the crash, I guess it was last week, she even talked about and even demonstrated. Juan Brown was watching her YouTube video from 4 weeks ago, and he showed us how she didn't know what she was doing. And sure enough, the data before her crash thoroughly demonstrated her lack of understanding of the autopilot. And it just a kook like me, I would think that's the first button you'd want to push is autopilot to get you out of trouble. Well, boy, am I wrong about that. So anyway, thanks a lot, Covington Jim. That was super interesting, sad, very sad, because she took her dad with her, and he was just along for the ride pretty much, and obviously he didn't know anything about how to control the autopilot. It was terrible to figure out what she didn't know and what she was doing, and especially when you saw the video where she kept pushing up, she kept holding the down button, holding it. It's a button you just push, and then you trim out the plane yourself. You don't. It was weird. I mean, Juan Brown, he's very good for the novice like me to understand what's going on. So anyway, that's my report for right now. K7ITX, back to net control.
Yeah. 7ITX, thanks for that. And we'll get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Is there anybody else wishing to join the net this evening?
7ITL, Wade here.
7ITL, what say you?
I have a lot to say. Just let me see. Today I went to the radio club and I took Ron along with me. I don't know if you talked about that, and that was pretty fun. Got to visit a couple of folks there, and just been working on housework since I got home. Don't have much more to say. I guess I'll just be listening though. This is W7ITL back to net.
ITL, fine with that. Let's go to Covington to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, Wade and Ron, Radio Club of Tacoma. Sounds like you had a little bit of fun there. That's good. Let's see, what did I do? Ran a couple of errands, did some work inside the house, ran some Christmas presents over to some people, and watched a little television. my wife rented a video. It's Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, and my God, that was long. It must have been 3 hours or maybe a little more than that. So that's where I spent a lot of the day. I don't know. At least I was with my wife. So she fed me as much popcorn as I wanted. So what can I say about that? And let's see, Ron, barking dog. Yeah, that's. I agree. That dog is going to get a bad habit. That's where every time he thinks that's what his owner wants, is for him to start barking every time he sees another dog. That's not a good idea. Oh well. Just like I had a friend who, his dog, every time he'd see a UPS or a FedEx truck coming, the driver would toss some candy out there, and then the dog got the idea that he'd get treats every time one of these trucks came by. So, I don't know. Oh well. Bob, sounds like you had a proverbial smorgasbord of goodies there. That's good. Always a good thing. Dick, yeah, I actually, after seeing Juan's video, I watched a couple of other videos, people describing that same crash, and they kind of got it wrong. At least Juan looks at more of the details, and could come up with a better assessment, I think, than a lot of the people who would just do a cursory look. And yeah, not all autopilots are the same. You have to be familiar with how they work, and unfortunately that woman just clearly was not familiar with that particular autopilot, how to properly operate it, and in fact I heard her tell the one instructor that she did not have as much qualifications as she should have for someone with her number of hours. So, but it was kind of a newer airplane for her. She probably should have got a little more training on that, a little more ground time. Someone sitting down and speaking with her about how the autopilot is supposed to work in that would have helped her. Or, I don't know, she'd disconnect the autopilot and just fly the thing manually. So that also maybe points to, oh boy, Ron's got goodies. So that kind of points to maybe a little less experience than she ought to have. But, oh well. Let's see. It was interesting seeing how laid back Mika is there. Just nothing seems to bother her there. So I thought that was kind of funny. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
7QO. Let's go on to James, WU7N.
Thank you, Dave. I've got an image to share here. Here's your classic autopilot from the movie Airplane. This is the inflatable model. And so, I mean, obviously you got to get to know this guy, talk with him, maybe go out to lunch with him. Can't believe you just, jump in the plane and try to have that fly the airplane. But so anyway, the other thing, you said 400 hours is a lot of time. Actually, I guess, it depends on what your definition of is. However, there's a book called The Killing Zone, and the difference between aviation and everything else is that there's such great data. And they found out that this guy's a genius, because everyone looked at the same numbers and said whatever, but he noticed there was a bell-shaped curve right around, I think it was 400 to 600 hours, somewhere in there. And he started to question, well, why do you have accidents right there at your 400-hour, 500-hour, 600-hour mark? There's definitely distribution there that had statistical significance. And what the conclusion was, they generally came to is when you're just first learning something where, you know, you could die. You're all on the edge of your seat, and, you know, you're really studying hard, you're really trying hard, you're completely focused. But after you get a little more relaxed with it, and then you start pushing limits, and you get away with, you know, scooching under the edge of that thunderstorm just a little bit, you know, so you got away with it that time. Actually, until you get, you know, the daylight scared out of you a little later on in that same time period, but survive, you start taking more and more chances, and you start getting more and more relaxed, and skills start to erode. And so actually, it's not the brand new student pilot with a brand new license you should be concerned about going a ride with. It's the guys that got about 500 hours. That's the one you really need to watch out for. This one's for Bob, and I'll just share this here. Here's pictures of some delicious truffles, and Bob, you can comment on if your truffles were cut with that knife. It looks like it's from the Paleozoic era there, or whether that was maybe from the Neolithic era. That's one kind of truffles that you can have for the holiday season. I think the French use pigs to hunt those. And then, of course, the other kind of truffles that you can hunt, that you can have for the holiday season, which I know we all just can't get enough of, is they look more like this picture here. And those are, I'm kind of disappointed. Costco used to have these exact truffles out every year, and I would just about overdose on them every year, and I haven't seen them this year. They're delicious, like little balls of chocolate rolled in chocolate powder, and they're very tasty. Oh yes, Richard, dad cooking. Okay, this is something that as soon as you have a kid, you suddenly think you know how to cook. My father on Sunday morning would make what you might think that the target end was some sort of scrambled eggs, and he would mix the eggs up, pour them into a large electric skillet, and then what came out was kind of this slab that. I think you could use it maybe like for body armor, or maybe you could use it for the tire on a car. It was amazing. I don't know how you do that to eggs. It was some kind of molecular transformation, because fundamentally it was just impossible. I don't see how anyone could possibly do that to eggs. My dad, bless his heart, he would do that on a regular basis. And I have no idea how he did it, so don't ask me. It was sadly lost when he went, and no one ever could duplicate it, although some of the national laboratories did contact us when they found out about it and asked if anyone knew how to do that with an egg. Nope, sorry, it's been lost to humanity. Probably best for the world. No, though, Richard, is this what your dad was trying to do? Because this is my picture of what I think divinity is, and that white stuff should not be a caramelized hard rock-like substance. It should be all fluffy and delicious and kind of melt. And one of the problems with commercializing divinity, as I understand it, is to come up with something people think is divinity, because if you really cook it correctly, that white stuff just melts on your tongue. It's got a high air content, it just melts on your tongue. Don't know if that's what you're nodding your head, so that must be what he was going for anyway. Never made it, and I guess I guess that's that. My other hot news of the week: first time I've been to a dentist in probably 4 or 5 years, and it was it's been quite a while, because during COVID I didn't get to go. I think maybe it was only 4 years, because I know I tried to take care of all that stuff before 2019, because I had a big event then. But I was really spoiled with a fantastic personal friend. I actually knew him before he had a dental practice. I was one of his first patients even before the dental practice was in operation, and then he taught at the UW. And I thought that was a normal dentist, somebody who taught at UW and had his own practice and everything. I tried for 20 years. He up and retired on me. I never forgave him for that. And so then I tried to go to another dentist, and just to give you a little taste, quite literally, of what that was like, the fluoride they used on my teeth was so bad when I brushed it off, it ruined my sonic toothbrush head. So I don't know what it did to me, but hopefully, I didn't catch tooth cancer from their fluoride. The new dentist in Bellevue, he was fantastic, his staff was fantastic. They did x-rays. They looked at my sore tooth, which I was wondering if it was going to show on the actual x-ray a small alien creature getting ready to explode out of my mouth and eat the staff. Fortunately, it just looked like a normal tooth. There's no alien creature ready to burst out of the side of my jaw. And he said, yeah, it looks like you got a sore tooth there. So yeah, that was half a K-buck, but at least I know I don't have an abscess, which I was kind of concerned about. He told me, yeah, you should brush it and take care of it. And then he says, if it suddenly starts to feel really good, like it just goes away, that means the nerve died. Now you have a problem. So that's kind of an interesting conundrum, isn't it? So I guess as long as it's sore, it's like being sore when you wake up in the morning. At least you know you're alive. Okay, well, last point, dogs and noise. I had lunch with a friend today, and he's got a young dog, and this is funny. The dog barks like, what's going on, when his phone makes the particular noise to indicate his home in Portland has activity on the video cameras. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Your dog has sight and smell so sensitive it can know what's going on in Portland. Think about that. That's amazing. On that note, I'm going to turn it back to Dave, our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. This is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue.
WW7N, thanks for that. And this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. Oh my gosh, I got 37 degrees out, and it's slight cloudy at this point. But I got a kick out of Ron doing the bark thing. It reminded me back when I was working in television news, and we'd gone from telephones in the car, radio telephones, to regular two-way radios. And we had one car that we had to go service. So we had an intern take that car into the place, and we followed behind. But the reporter picked up the mic and then gave a siren sound over the two-way radio. And the intern immediately pulled over to the curb. We thought that was kind of hilarious, but who knows? Things like that happen. Oh my gosh. And Bob, cookies. I think I'm going to have to go on a diet after all of these cookies. And Richard with his Divinity hard candy. And Jim, video with Taylor Swift. Oh my. I imagine you're heart pounded mostly at about 2 hours in watching her do her gyrations and singing. But at least you were there with your wife to enjoy that. So that's pretty good. And Wade got a chance to go to the club. And Jim, oh my gosh, autopilots, but failing in a plane seems like a little more disastrous than what's been happening with Teslas on autopilot. So who knows? Autopilots maybe aren't all that great. And that's pretty much I've got for James with the egg concoction. His father put together, I guess you could call that an egg armored pancake. Is what came out of the pan. So that's about it. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM, and so I'm going to send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thanks, Dave. KD7QKU here again. Well, Jim N7QO disappeared. I don't know what happened to him. I was going to ask him how he liked Taylor Swift. He didn't comment on whether he watched her for 3 hours, but I guess I don't know much about her. I don't know much about her music. I only know I'm interested in the fact that she is dating Travis Kelce, the football player. And I'm kind of curious to see how that'll work out. I don't know. I've read some things where he's asked her father for permission to marry her and everything else. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's moving pretty fast, so who can tell? So let's go back to the Tacoma Ham Club for just a second. So Wade and I were over there. We were sitting probably in the meeting room, and a guy walked in, and his name was Jack. And Wade introduced me to him and said that he's on PSRG. And I didn't know the man. I didn't recognize his voice or anything. And so then later on, I was in the other room, and Wade came in and sat down and said that Joan from PSRG was there. Well, I've never met Joan face to face, but I've heard her voice. But I didn't hear her talk or anything, so she was there, I guess. And apparently, they both came to visit somebody at Tacoma Ham Club that maybe, I might be wrong here, is diabetic or something, and maybe he had something amputated, like a foot or toes or something. If Wade was listening, he could probably fill us in on that. But anyway, they came to see someone there, and I didn't know who they came to see, and I didn't see who they saw or anything. There's quite a few rooms down there, and I was in a room visiting some other guys. So, go on with my good day. So over here, the Tacoma Yacht Club has they light the boats with Christmas lights, and then they have a parade. So we went down to the Dunes Park and sat there and watched the parade, and it was more boats go by than I expected. A lot of boats went by. So then after that, my wife didn't want to cook dinner, so then we went over to the Mexican restaurant over here close by, and we had Mexican food. And she just brought me in some cookies because our cookie can was empty, and I wanted a cookie for dessert. Well, she had whipped up some chocolate chip dried cranberry cookies. Oh man, they're really good. They got the dried cranberries in them with the chocolate chips. She put them in a pan. She didn't bake them individually, and she cut them in squares, and so she just brought me 3 or 4 really warm cookies, and practically burned my mouth on them, but they were sure good. And it sounds like what your dad made, Richard, was peanut brittle. Joanne makes peanut brittle, and I don't know how she makes it, but I think it's quick and easy. She just, puts peanuts in it, and it's a brown heart. You know how peanut brittle is. And then, she makes, around this time of year, she makes a lot of it. We don't seem to have much fudge, but my niece makes a lot of fudge, but Joanne makes peanut brittle. And let's see. Yeah, Jim, did you like Taylor Swift? Yeah, he's saying he liked her. Okay. I don't know many of her songs, and I, don't know much about her personally. She's a pretty lady, and I think she's pretty level-headed, but so I don't know. Somebody put a message on there, and I can't read it this far away from my TV screen. So let's see. I guess that's about it for this round. So anyway, back to net, KD7QKU.
Let's go to Bottle Bob, K9PQ.
Hello guys, okay, first things first. 1 second, I gotta put the mic down for this. Of Christmas cookies that are left, the truffles are gone. Actually the truffles, like the second one you showed, James, are I like those kinds as well, and I used to get them at Costco as well. You can get this exact same ones at Trader Joe's. At least you used to be able to. So, and you don't have to buy as many. So that's a good thing too. But yeah, the other kind, like Lindor is my favorite brand. It's the same idea as far as the inside of the chocolate truffle is that sort of soft chocolate like that, but instead of just the cocoa powder around the outside, it has a hard chocolate shell. And I have no idea how you would go about making that at home. Seems like that would be very hard to make somehow. You'd have to coat it with the hard chocolate while it's melted, and then have it stay on there and cool. I don't know, but so I saw some of these left, which is a peanut butter chocolate with a big, a Hershey Kiss on it. I've got, of course, the traditional shape chocolates, or shape cookies, Christmas tree there. This is either a Santa, I guess it's a Santa face, yeah, with the hat. Doesn't really show up very well, but I guess that's what that is. And yeah, so some are already gone, but it's really good. It's really good. So let's see. Yeah, the barking dog thing. You know, I'm pretty careful about that, even with cats. You know, to not get them used to things. My previous cat I had, like this one, I was very very disciplined about not feeding it human food, and so it wouldn't beg. And I had a roommate for a while, and he wanted to feed him his name was Thor, my previous cat, and he wanted to feed him some human food, you know, little scraps from the table while he's eating, and I said, yeah, as long as it's just a little bit, just a taste, I don't mind, that's fine. Of course, forever after that, Thor would be sitting at the dinner table begging from him, but never from me. So he was smart enough to know the difference between who feeds him and who doesn't, which that gave me no end of amusement. That he was a little annoyed by that, and it's like, well, you wanted to do that. Let's see, I have a few other notes here. Yeah, the autopilot thing. I have flown in small planes with people, and never. I don't think these were like Cessna rentals, so I don't think they ever even had autopilot. But certainly nobody ever engaged any autopilot. And I had heard the same thing, James, about you know, when you are most likely to have an accident, you know, where you get a little more comfortable, you know, like you say, about 500 hours, and sort of if you survive that, you know, to about 1,000 hours, then you're probably going to be fine. So if you either, like you say, you have the scare and learn your lesson, or you just are disciplined enough that you don't allow yourself to relax to the point of being dangerous, you know, you'll make it through. But I've heard that same thing. I'd forgotten all about Divinity Candy. I had to look it up, and I haven't had it in a very long time. But yeah, I can imagine that would be hard to make, and probably not very, you know, doesn't come out very well commercially, I would guess. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, the sore tooth. Yeah, I went through a similar thing. Let me break thing with it. My previous dentist. I've had good luck lately with dentists. I've had some losers, but I had one really good one that was through a recommendation, and then I just got lucky with my latest one. She's just local to where I live, and she's very very good. But the previous one I had, the good one that I had a sore tooth, and it was just one of these things that it just was sensitive. And he said, "Yeah, I have a sensitive tooth. It's just one of those things that happens." In my case, my sensitive tooth did get worse, and it did have to be dealt with. But you know, he said, you know, you just never know. Sometimes it's just something you just have to live with, and that's why they have like Sensodyne toothpaste and stuff like that. Okay, well, I guess that's good for now. I'll send it back. K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Let's go to Richard, K7ATS.
Well, yeah, Bob, you know, you're talking about, you know, good and bad dentists, and you're lucky right now. I had a dentist for, oh my God, I don't know, probably about 25 years. He was in the Burien area. I got him when I lived in West Seattle, and I stuck with him even when I moved to Kent. But, you know, he retired, so I had to get a new dentist, and that was I think I got like, well, I got with a firm that had 3 dentists. And the older dentist used to play. He was a college basketball star, but he was all retired and everything. So he just walked around. It was his firm, I guess. And then his son-in-law I didn't like so much, but you know, I had a crown, and so the other dentist, I guess. Maybe he was somehow. But I had the third dentist that I wasn't too experienced with, other than he seemed to be the most experienced and qualified. And I had a crown, and they have one of those machines where they can make the crown right in the office at the same day they prep your teeth. And so, my first experience with the other dentist wasn't very good. And actually, all my crown experiences were kind of a bummer because, they never seemed to get my bite back to where it was. And so that just would drive me crazy. And then they'd always say, your teeth move around, you'll get used to it. Well, okay. But I know, I never did. I ended up biting my tongue or my cheek or all kinds of horrible things, because of this new bite. But this third dentist who did a crown, I left the dentist and I went home and I was doing things, and I was getting ready for dinner or whatever, and I thought, wait a minute, did I have a crown today? I mean, to me, that is a good dentist. If he can do a crown in one day, and it's so good, you forget that he ever did it. That's pretty weird. I mean, there's no new bite to learn. I mean, it was just like, if you can forget it completely, that's got to be a damn good job. So anyway, I'll never forget that. Is my dentist, so I'm pretty happy. And I always specify when I make an appointment that it has to be him and nobody else. So, and then let's see. Ron, Jack, and Joan. Oh, I know them really well. They're very good friends. Joan, she's been with PSRG. Well, even Bob knows Joan, for crying out loud. He was a net control host right along with her back when I first got started. Came along about I want to say about 5 years ago, and he is a real prince, smart as a tack. He's in logistics business, must be extremely successful. But I'll never forget when we were at the PSRG picnic, and Jack was with his son, and it's the first time they ever met him in person. I guess they used to be in a circus, for crying out loud. And how about juggling hatchets at the PSRG picnic? That's got to be a first. So anyway, that's what I remember about Jack, especially. And I see him every now and then. I love talking with him. There aren't better people than Jack. I'll say that right now. So, geez. And the barking dog thing. It's kind of weird about barking at other dogs. So I think she's pretty good, actually. She goes on walks quite a bit, and so she pretty much knows all the dogs in the neighborhood that walk around and stuff. Well, there's dogs that she likes, and there's dogs that she doesn't like. And so, and where we live, we kind of have a view 2 blocks to the south and 2 blocks to the west. So we're up on a perch, and maybe you could figure that out when you saw our pictures of Mount Rainier the other day. But, so, Pippa is always on the watch for who's coming down the street. And so if it's Willie's a good friend, and we never bark at Willie. But the German Shepherd, oh my God, that's the end of the world, that German Shepherd. So it's really funny how she's got friends and not so friends, and she never barks at her friends, but always barks at the dog she doesn't like. So I guess I can live with that. She has mostly friends, thank God. So anyway, God, But a lot of topics tonight. I don't know where to stop, but I better stop right now. K7ITX, back to net control.
K7ITX, let's see if Wade is still with us. W7ITL.
7ITL, still here, but I'll be real short on this round as well. Yeah, so we did meet Jack and Joan at the radio club at Tacoma. I'm not sure exactly why they were there. We're just assuming they were probably seeing somebody there, because I've never seen them show up to the club. But yeah, barking dogs. My dog barks at everybody that comes to the door. They're always a friend, though. She's always wagging her tail when they come in. I mean, she greets them at the door. Yeah, and I knew that about Jack and his juggling. He's a pretty cool guy in that regard. He has a story about that. Let me see. That's pretty much it for me on this round. I'm probably going to say 73, guys. This is W7ITL, Wade in Tacoma.
ITL, I guess that's a new definition for a hatchet job. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Wade, thanks for joining us. Good night, sir. Let's see, Jim, yeah, there's a 400 to 600 hours or somewhere in there. Yeah, statistically that's true, but I think, okay, I'm reading something into this. I think what happens is some people maybe are overconfident in their abilities, and this particular woman certainly was not. So she didn't really fall into that category. She just didn't understand how to properly use that autopilot, and it just seems to me that she should have known enough to disconnect it if it was not exactly working like she wanted. But what Juan thinks is that she got the aircraft out of trim, and then by the time she disconnected the autopilot, she didn't have the muscle to override the trim. And I don't know. We used to have to do that when I flew 727s. They wanted us to disconnect the autopilot every, I don't remember now, every hour and a half or something like that, and then retrim it, because in that aircraft, the autopilot, if I remember correctly, had control over the elevators, but not over the trim. So different autopilots work in different manners. And the one on her aircraft, it was necessary to manually trim the aircraft. What it would do is give you an enunciation and tell you to either trim up or trim down, and it seems to me she somehow didn't quite get the flick on that. There's a video on that. It was pretty clear watching the video. What a shame. But going back to experience, yeah, it varies widely. I'm not going to tell you how, but I came to the conclusion when I was a young guy, I would fly with low visibility, or I would fly with low ceiling, but not both. Then I instructed for a whole bunch of hours, and I got to learn by watching other people make mistakes too. So that was really beneficial working as a flight instructor for a few years. You get to explain to people what they're doing wrong, and it's actually a learning experience for you as well. And nowadays it seems that's not happening with a lot of pilots. So I don't know. Particularly in a new aircraft, it's important to get to know the equipment. Let's see here. Yeah, experience. I have worked with guys who essentially flew the same routes for a decade, basically. And so, okay, did they have 10 years worth of experience, or did they have 1 year worth of experience 10 times? So, I don't know. Let's see. And, oh, Dave, yeah, I've got 37 degrees here as well, and it's clear over here at the house, as far as I can tell. Kind of nice out there now. Oh, Ron, as you were talking, my internet just decided that it needed to take a break to go smoke a cigarette or something, so my internet just decided to go out to lunch, so I had to reconnect here. But I heard everything you said on 2 meters, so that was good. Okay, we're talking about making candy. I don't know. It seems to me the thing to do is either get it from someone who's really good at making it, or go to Trader Joe's or Costco, and that's what I do. And I'm not saying this too loudly, but not everyone's wife is good at making stuff. So what can we say here? Let's see. Temporary crowns. Crowns, you were talking, Dick. I had a couple of temporary crowns installed, and they were just like, do I really need a permanent crown? They did such a good job, but then it's gone the other way too. I've been to a bunch of different dentists, and some are really good and some are not so good. I don't know. Sensitive teeth. I went through a spell decades ago where I had like 3 teeth that were sensitive for some reason. So my usual dentist told me, well, there's a trick I could do, but, let me reset. Okay, I guess it's done. But he didn't want to do it until the sensitivity persisted for 6 months. So he said, come see me in 6 months. So I did that. The teeth were still sensitive, and what he did, I found out afterwards, he took the surface of the tooth and kind of scooped it out a little bit and put some bonding material on there. And that actually worked okay, but the problem is now the teeth need to be worked on like all the time, and eventually there's only so much material you can scoop away, and then they need to crown it. So Bob or whoever, if you have sensitive teeth, find out if that's what they're planning to do to fix your sensitivity problem. Don't do it, I would say. That's just my advice on that. And some fellow juggling hatchets? My goodness, not me. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, get an ID in the gear. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Let's go to James, WU7N.
WU7N here. It looks like I get the last word, or close to it tonight. I don't know, maybe we can get a few more people in here. Bob, cats and food. Yes, I had a cat, actually. I'm not sure if I was the second owner or the third owner. And very well-behaved cat, knew not to jump up on surfaces, for example, not jump on counters or tables or anything. And I would empty a can of tuna. At that time, that was one of the staples of my diet when I was home, which was not, the minority of the time. Cat was wonderful in that regards too. And so I would dump a can of tuna into my macaroni and cheese, typical bachelor meal, and then I put the can down for the cat to lick the stuff out of the can. Okay, well, she would do this maybe, did this for, I think, a week, and then she would notice or figure out that, okay, the rest of the tuna was in this thing I was eating up on the table, so all the rules were off. She'd just jump up on the table, and where's mine, and which half of the plate do you want me to eat out of? And so I had to stop doing that because she was getting very confused about proper cat etiquette. And so we didn't want to have a catastrophe, so I had to stop giving her any sense of tuna and just say, look, you need to eat your cat food, and I'll eat the tuna now. Crowns. I didn't know what a crown was, and I was wondering, if I should have this tooth crowned or something, and it probably eventually will have to. It has a little Fisher line in it, but I'm putting that off as long as possible. I found a little infographic on what a crown is, and let me see if I can possibly open it up, because this to me is, let me see if this is what you guys think of for a crown. Here's a little 6-step thing, and there it goes. It's up on 1.2 gigahertz for anyone trying to decode the signal. With the interesting what to expect when getting a dental crown. Starts with a huge syringe. Any medical procedure that starts with a huge syringe, you're in trouble. Okay, so then take preliminary impressions and shade. I'm not sure what that is. Why can't you do it in the sunlight? I'm not sure. But then it says, okay, precisely move tooth filling and material, and it looks like they got a big bolt that goes up through the middle of your tooth. And take the final impression. Whenever a medical person starts using the word final, you're in trouble. I mean, in aviation, that's okay. Medicine, not so good. Then says fabricate temporary crown, but then step 6, it suddenly goes over to cement a permanent crown. So I thought this was an interesting, from a technical writer perspective, kind of an interesting 6-step process, because how do you go from temporary to permanent? I'm not sure. But I'm glad to hear, Jim, that your temporary was as good as the permanent. Maybe it's a matter of wear and tear. See, the other thing I was going to say about instructing, in a lot of Asian cultures, you're not considered an expert in anything until you've taught someone else how to do it. It doesn't matter whether it's cooking or sewing or flying aircraft. And I think that's very true. I'm just amazed. Someone told me this. I never was able to confirm this, but there's people flying around giant airplanes that have never flown a 172. And I don't understand how you do that, but apparently that was a contributing factor to the great Atlantic Ocean swimming party by the French aircraft that left, I think it was Brazil, and the pitot sensors, the little air sensors on the side of the airplane, iced up, and the computer was screaming multiple instructions at the pilot and co-pilot, and they got overwhelmed with all the computer screaming when really all they had to do was put the engine at a certain power setting and get the wings level, and everything would have probably been okay, because at that altitude the ice would have melted off, and then the computer would have said never mind, and they could have gone back to flying it. Unfortunately, they were so overwhelmed with computer instructions that they couldn't fly the airplane. So I think maybe there's been some, since that accident, I think there's been some rethinking on that, because I don't understand how you go from flying a big airplane as your first airplane. I flew, admittedly, an old twin-engine PA-23, and it was just overwhelming. There were so many things to keep track of. And I'd never flown an aircraft in my life when I did that, and then when I went to a 172, it seemed so simple. It seemed like almost like a little toy. But it could still kill you, so I guess it was still an airplane. This is it for me, James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Let's turn it back to Dave for the wrap-up. KD7ZYM, go ahead.
7N, this is Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, it was interesting to see the pictures of the truffles you had, and it reminded me of Rocky Mountain oysters. I wouldn't want to get them confused, but that was kind of interesting. And the other item, they're talking about dentists. I had a college buddy that went to dental school. I hadn't seen him for about 5 years, and he set up a shingle "Hey, drop by. I'll check you out." So I stopped by, and he says, "Oh, you need a wisdom tooth that needs to be pulled." And I said, "Okay." So we went through the procedure, getting out the needle and numbing the gums. Then he went to work, and then about 30 seconds later, there was all of a sudden from his mouth came S-H-I-T as he was pulling, and I heard a crack in my mouth, and the tooth had broken off. And I would say his bedside manners weren't the greatest, but finally the tooth came out. But what can I say? Such is life. And I'll end the net. This is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a tone of 103.5 for our voice transmissions. So on behalf of Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave signing off the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.